Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Asaph Cafe. Welcome to Asaph Cafe.
We didn't do a countdown. It's not going.
It is. It's filming right now.
It is? Did
Yeah.
they do a countdown?
Yeah.
I wasn't looking. Oh, dear.
That's okay. So anyway, welcome to Asaph Cafe, and affectionately on my left, our aging rocker, Emmett. And we are on the set of the Rifleman, and we'll get more detailed in a moment. You want to start us off, Emmett?
Heavenly Father, bless our food and our time together in Jesus' name.
Thank you. Anyway, we're on the set of an old television western from the past called The Rifleman. And I don't know how many people even remember this particular western. It was one of the best westerns in television history, in my personal opinion. And I'll get more detailed in a moment. The actor that played the Rifleman, his name was Chuck Connors, and you can see him in the background. So we have squeezed ourselves on the set of the Rifleman. He lived in a town called North Fork in the 19th century. I don't know exactly what year, it was 18 something, you know, that it was depicting during the Civil War, I believe. Now, according to these notes here, the series centers around Lucas McCain. That was his name. He was a Union Civil War veteran and a widower. Now, he had been a lieutenant in the 11th Indiana Infantry, his character, infantry regiment, and he had received a battlefield commission for the Battle of Five Forks just before the war ended. So it was in that time period. And having previously been a homesteader, he buys a ranch in a fictitious town called North Fork, New Mexico Territory in the pilot episode. And he has a son named Mark that he's raising after the death of his wife, Margaret. And Mark was 6 years old, the character at the time. So this is in the 1800s, this western here. And he just rebuilds and lives. He minds his own business, he just ranches, and raises his son Mark. So that's kind of the synopsis of it there. And Micah Torrance is is a recovering alcoholic who is now the sheriff, or I should say marshal in this case. So every once in a while when McCain goes into town, he's helping marshal, because the bad guys are always coming in doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. And you see he has this rifle, which is a Winchester, but it's been modified, so it's like a repeating rifle where it shoots over and over. So the only time he uses this rifle in defense is when cowboys don't know how to behave themselves, and they just insist on either harming his son or his family or the marshal or something like that. So that's kind of it. That's the synopsis of it.
I've only seen a few clips of it on Me TV. If I'm changing the channels or the channel surfing, you know, that's all I've seen. I'm not really a big fan of westerns. I'm just not.
I'm not either, but I do like this one.
Well, for one, it may be action adventure, but it doesn't have any lasers. It's not science fiction.
Well, it didn't have it in 1880.
Yeah, I know, kind of boring. But, you know, one thing I was thinking about before the show, maybe one reason I've never liked westerns, the closest I've ever come to a western that I liked was the Wild Wild West. That was almost more, we talked about the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, we did.
That was almost like James Bond, kind of science fiction, some wild stuff, like, you know, very horrible supervillains like Dr. Loveless and others. And real good stuff. Imaginative. But except for that...
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Westerns always emphasize the boy code. A psychiatrist named Dr. William Pollock wrote about real boys, exposing the myths of the boy code, or exposing the boy code. The idea you gotta be tough and be a man. You can't cry openly, even if somebody dies. And you've got to be a manly man and get into fights with people to prove you are a real man, and you better not cry or show any emotion. I reject all of that as a Catholic. All of that.
I see.
And the boy code is so front and center in these Western stories, even The Rifleman. It makes me uncomfortable. I mean, I do believe in spankings, but I don't believe in boxing anyone's ears or that kind of just tough. I'm going to be the disciplinarian of the family. I don't like that, you know.
I see.
And that the westerns really emphasize that. Don't you cry, son, because you're not a real man. And I'm gonna take you to the woodshed if you start crying.
Yeah, but see, the Rifleman didn't do that though. That was an exception. Now some of the other westerns may have, like Gunsmoke or whatever. But the Rifleman, they didn't do that.
That's good.
He was really a rancher. He would just be doing what ranchers do around the ranch in their home and raising his son. But it was just such a neat episode, a neat series. It lasted, let's see, according to these notes here, it lasted for 5 seasons, 168 episodes. And, well, let me read this here. The Rifleman is an American Western television program starring Chuck Connors as a rancher, Lucas McCain, and Johnny Crawford as his son Mark McCain. It's set in the 1870s to 1880s in a fictional town on North Fork, New Mexico territory. And the show was filmed in black and white, half-hour episodes. And it aired on ABC from 1958 to 1963. So.
Oh, interesting.
That was kind of a, and then of course the program title was titled to reflect McCain's use of a Winchester Model 1892 rifle customized to allow repeating firing by cycling its lever action.
Yeah.
And it would demonstrate this technique at the beginning, like when I showed you that clip. So
Yeah.
it had a theme song that went like this. Something like that. I just picked that out, you know.
Yeah. Thing is, I cry openly. I hug my friends, openly, and just those kind of things. I'm not really interested in being a macho man.
Well, I think
I'm not effeminate, but I really, as a Christian, I believe you should cry openly and everything. And,
I think you're a stronger person when you do be honest with yourself and cry if you have to.
Yeah.
This thing, I agree with you. This thing about a man is not supposed to cry, that's nonsense.
Yeah, and all these westerns really emphasize that kind of thing.
Except for the Rifleman.
Yeah.
But that was just television. I think a lot of it was artistic license too. They make these guys so tough so that people will watch.
Yeah, but did the Rifleman cry openly and grow flowers in the backyard?
Well, he didn't cry, but they had some episodes where he was sad or depressed.
Yeah, not the same as actual
Scared.
tears,
Well, maybe not tears, but they had some where he was sad, some episodes.
Yeah, not. I mean, anyone, even even the boy that can be sad, but they just can't cry. It's ridiculous. So I think it's the same thing, I would have rather him crying openly, hugging a teddy bear, and not only being a rancher, but planting flowers in the backyard. That just would have been better, Maybe I would have warmed up to the Rifleman if they had allowed that, The thing is, the culture that time too, the 50s and 60s, you didn't cry openly, The hippies broke through that barrier, but people romanticized a time where men were men and that kind of thing, and it's just sad, really.
I know. But that's the nature of Westerns, though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have some of this. Would you like some of this country time?
After this, let's see, let's take a little bit.
Yeah.
I like lemonade.
Lemonade.
It's fascinating. It's just I guess Westerns depress me,
Well, I have to admit, I wasn't really a fan of Westerns per se. And I'm not talking about the Rifleman. They had a lot of Westerns.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you one of the reasons why I don't in a moment. 2 main reasons why I'm not a fan of Westerns. One, if you were an African American in that time period, you just would not be treated well.
Yeah.
And so when I look at a Western, if this makes any sense, I look at it through African American eyes.
Oh, I can understand that. Yeah, definitely.
And that's why I had a problem with Happy Days, with Henry Winkler and...
hated Happy Days.
Well, the reason I didn't care for that show was because that time period. I mean, I know it was funny. I've seen some very funny
Yes.
scenes in there,
Mhm.
and I know they have to depict that.
Mhm.
In fact, let's talk about Happy Days for a second.
Yes.
They had an episode on there which caught my attention. You know, when we were talking about that time period?
Yes.
They had an episode where they had this African American fella that
Yeah.
came
Was it
into
in the
town.
50s or 60s that the
50s.
era was depicted? Okay, Alec, with the
50s.
greasers and
50s.
A.
Yeah. that
Sit
was
on
in
it.
the 50s, yeah. Well, I know that was comedy, but I'm talking about they had an episode where they were dealing with racism on Happy Days.
Yep.
You know how Richie Cunningham's character and Fonz and all, you know,
Oh, yeah.
they would have a band or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had this African American fellow who was the drummer. And
Yeah.
Fonzie was supposed to be so cool that if he snaps his fingers, a girl will come to him.
I
or, you
know.
and I know that's the comedy aspect.
Yeah,
but-
it's so arrogant. I never
well,
liked the
I know he
Fonz,
was a
yeah.
little arrogant, but he was
Very arrogant.
But he was considered cool. But they had this episode where Fonzie had to learn that prejudice
Yeah.
was stronger than cool,
Yeah, definitely.
because they had a scene in there where they were going to have this band and they had this
Mm-hmm.
African American drummer,
Yeah.
and nobody wanted to go
Mhm.
because he was African American, was black. And Fonzie couldn't understand that because to Fonz, it didn't make any difference
Yeah.
what color you were.
Yeah.
So Fonzie was threatening, if you guys don't go to this party, I'm going to beat you guys up. Because he could have easily done
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But it didn't make any difference because the parents told the kids, except for Richie Cunningham's
Yeah.
parents, told the kids that they couldn't go to that party because of that African American drummer.
Whoa.
And so, you okay?
I'm just looking at the heat. It's kind of a little chilly in here, you know.
Okay, you know how to turn that on?
Yeah, I did turn it on. It's been on for a
Okay,
little bit.
so anyway, Mr. Cunningham tells Fonzie, you know, after Fonzie was
Yep.
threatening to make everybody go to the party,
Uh-huh.
Mr. Cunningham had to teach Fonzie and tell him, hey, doesn't matter how cool you are,
Mhm.
prejudice and racism is racism,
Yeah.
which is stronger than being cool, and nobody showed up to that party
Mm.
because of this African American
Oh,
drummer
man,
on
well.
Happy Days. And that caught my attention, but see where I'm going with this is that was the way it was in that time
Yeah.
period. So if you lived in that time period of Fonz or whatever, and you were an African American, you would be well received or
It
accepted.
sounds like very unhappy days, not happy days. Very
Well,
unhappy.
Well, it was for that time
Mhm.
period, and I know it was comedy, and
Yeah.
it was just depicting that era. I
Mhm.
understand it. But that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time watching Happy Days
Oh,
for
yeah.
real. And I know that it's just a silly comedy.
I
with
never laughed
Fonzie
once.
and-
I've tried to get into it. But the thing is, Fonz was so arrogant. It's like,
Well, I
sit
know.
on it. I love the women, and you could do something with the jukebox and just playing an of the motorcycle. Come on.
But Scott,
His friends were
but
arrogant.
that's that time period
Yeah.
that they were depicting, and since it's a comedy, you have to have some kind of comedy for people to watch it. Can you hand me some of those tissues? I could use one.
Yeah, I just didn't find the Fonz interesting. The only time I've watched the Fonz really is on Mork and Mindy. They did the pilot episode with him on Mork and Mindy. when
Well, let's
Mork
talk
came there.
about that. Well, see, there was one thing. You know, Fonzie was supposed to have all these gifts. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
hitting the wall and defeating everybody, but he gets defeated by Mork.
Mhm.
Because Mark was from another planet.
Exactly.
So- and that's what added to the comedy,
Oh, yes.
because as tough as Fonzie was, and it wasn't like, I don't mean physically fighting, it's just that Mark had the powers to make
Yes.
Fonzie walk, you know, move in slow motion
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah.
And that added to the comedy.
Yeah,
The only
definitely.
thing that Fonzie beat Mork in was getting the girls.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so that added to the comedy. But that was different because that wasn't pushing the 50s era, because Mork and Mindy's in the 70s.
Yes, indeed.
But he just goes back in time to the 50s.
Yeah.
Meets the Fonz, and
Yeah.
and that's why it was humorous there.
Oh, it was.
But that's, as a whole though, that time period in the 50s, if you were African American, it was
Yeah.
hard. So that's why I have a hard time watching Happy Days. I have nothing against Henry Winkler as an actor and Ron Howard and the rest,
Yeah.
but it's just that time period.
Even you were talking about MASH in their first pilot movie had
Yeah,
some
that
issues
was
like
tough. Well, it was hard for me to watch And I'm a big fan of Elliot Gould
Yeah.
and those people that
Yeah.
were in that film, Robert Duvall and all the rest, because they had to
Yeah.
reenact that. But
Yeah.
that movie was more serious. It wasn't funny like
I
the
know.
Alan Alda version. So
I
that's
know.
why I was surprised when they made a comedy, because as I mentioned, calling the African American guy Spear Chucker, that just did not sit well with me.
No.
But it was that time period.
Well, I just didn't like MASH because it was such dry humor. I was so bored by it. All I did was sit around and play cards, and Klinger, where someone was always trying to get out of the army by saying, yes, I want to be out of the army, and I'm wearing a dress. See, I'm crazy. I want to be out of the army. This is
Yeah, but
false
you know
flag."
what? He always saved the day, though. If you watch that series enough, even though he would wear a dress,
Yeah.
Klinger's character would always save the
Oh,
day.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
seriously, he would. He would save his troops. He would save the MASH unit, and,
Yeah.
and he was very loyal to Colonel Potter and
Oh, yeah.
Colonel Blake, the one that was in charge
Yeah.
first. They killed off Blake's character, and that's
Yeah.
when Colonel Potter came in.
Mhm.
So they had some serious episodes and so on.
Yeah, but I just didn't laugh once. I mean,
Well, you have
comedy.
to really pay attention and watch it, and you'll catch the humor, and you have to watch it consistently.
I understood the humor, but it was just so dry, I never laughed.
and stuff
I
like that.
literally never laughed. I mean, I understood the jokes, like, as in the 50s, and this doctor is very, very careful. He finally gave the go-ahead to use penicillin. And I know penicillin had been out since the 30s, but it's just such dry humor.
Uh-huh.
I've seen it, it's like, I'm not even laughing once. The thing is, in a comedy, if you don't laugh, it's an absolute failure.
Not necessarily. Well, I see your point, but MASH
Because
was
that's the-
different because they didn't. It was comedy, but it was mixed with drama, and the events of that time.
So it was a
period.
comedy drama, not really a comedy like Gilligan's
No,
Island.
not that kind of comedy. It
That kinda
had
has-
comic moments, but I have to admit, I liked it. I could
Yeah.
relate to it coming from a military family.
Yeah.
Now, my birth mom, was not a fan of
Mhm.
MASH, but because she was married to a military man.
Yeah.
So
So
from
that
her
makes
point of
sense
view-
that it is a comedy drama, not just a comedy.
No, not the silly comedy like because they had some episodes where people died
Oh, yeah.
on MASH.
It makes sense.
So
It's kind of
you know.
like, even for some reason, The Breakfast Club, one of my favorite movies of all time, is considered a comedy drama.
Uh-huh.
Did I ever tell you about The Breakfast? Well, just getting back to
Okay.
MASH. Thing is, with comedy, or let's say with a science fiction movie, if it's not a comedy, it can have redeeming areas in one part of it, and stupid areas that just don't work. But it can have redeeming areas that kind of make up for it, so it's kind of semi-good. But in a comedy, you're supposed to laugh, and if you don't laugh, the whole thing is ruined.
Well, it depends on what kind of comedy you're talking about too.
Yeah. The Breakfast Club is one of my favorite movies. I was introduced to the Breakfast Club in
Okay.
high school. In my senior year in Prep for Life, the teacher decided it's good if we watch this movie. It's out on videotape.
Okay.
I loved it. It was kind of an anarchist movie.
Oh, really?
Well, what it was, the Breakfast Club was about these several teenagers who had to go into an in-school suspension or spend time in detention. Not in-school suspension.
I see.
But detention on Saturday morning for whatever it is they did.
Uh-huh.
And this angry teacher said, I want you. Do you think you're just going to sit around and do nothing? No. I want you to write an essay about yourself, why you're here, and about why you think you're here and who you are. Maybe you'll learn
Okay.
something.
Okay.
Well, they really didn't do anything. There was this there was a sports wrestler. There were just some people, we don't know why they were there. There was a geek there.
Okay.
There was an intelligent person. There was this person named Bender, who was this heavy metal rock and roll tough kind of person.
I didn't see it, so I don't know it.
And he, I've met people like this, all kinds in, high school, and
Okay.
he was a tough one but he had some comedy moments, but he was always acting up and wanting to fight the other kids in detention. Like, some of the language I can't use, but it's like he was tormenting everyone, including the girls, or saying, hey, I can understand you getting bunched up about wearing all of this
Uh-huh.
type of clothes, but you are every parent's light of your life. You are wonderfully. There's nothing to complain about. And why are you wrestling? Oh, I'm telling you, you're a wrestler. Oh, I'm so crushed inside. Missing a whole wrestling meet. I've never competed. I want to be just like you. And he had a leather jacket and the whole thing and chain. All I figure I need is a lobotomy and some tights. I have the deepest respect for guys under information, for guys who run on the floor with other guys, who rolled around on the floor with other guys. And finally, it actually ended up in a fight, and because he was harassing a woman, and I can't explain the language, but then I thought everyone was going to die because he pulled out a switchblade. Okay. This other guy who was in the wrestler said, "Let's end this. You don't talk to her. You don't look at her." And just it was quite interesting. But then he got into some more trouble. They kind of made up, I don't know how. And then they finally had lunch, and one of the girls who just had all she was bread with sugary cereals, and she put more sugar on it and ate that, and he drank cola. And just, oh my word! I mean, these people are all basket cases, really.
I see.
But well, they finally decided they wanted. Bender decided, I want to be bad for a while. I just want to wander around the schools. Like, let's do this. Let's do this. The principal's gonna catch us now. Come on, let's go. And then basically, they were running from the principal, and then they hit it in dead wall. And someone said, "Oh no, we're dead." Then Bender said, "No, just me. Everyone, get back to class, catch the other way." And then in a funny scene, because this principal hated him. Thing is, he had pulled a false fire alarm in school. This principal said, "Hey, I guess that is really. Suppose your dope was on fire." And that kind of thing. It was always smoking.
I see.
Dope. And he said, and then he said, I think something to the effect of BOOHOO. Oh, you want another one, Bender? Say the word. Eat my shorts.
I didn't see that.
My short. And that's another one, Bender. You want another Saturday? I'm doing society a favor. Instead of coming in person, you'll come here. Just say another one. But, yeah, do I want another? Yeah, okay, you got another one in there. How about that? And he said, well, I'm fine the other month, but after that, I'm gonna have to check my calendar. And it's like, I got you, Bender, for 2 months. I got you. And then basically Bender said, blankety blank, you! I mean, total anarchy.
So there was actually swearing in this film, is what you're saying?
What?
Swearing
You
in this
had
film?
tons of swearing. It was R-rated or PG-13 by these standards, but then Bender was running to us all screaming, I want to be an Air Force Ranger! I'm going to the gym, and finally, the principal had it and locked up Bender in the closet. He was able to escape. It's such a long story.
I see.
But one reason Bender was so angry, he was physically always abused at home. Beaten up by his dad.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, interesting. He said Brian was the perfect, the kid who was was very brainy. And when they were getting lunch, they had to bring their lunch from school. Bender said, Brian, I'd like to see your lunch. No, let me do this. Soup, milk, something else. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with the crust cut off. Well, Brian, this looks like a very nutritious lunch. Bender didn't have anything because he didn't have any money for, food, or whatever.
See.
Who did your mother marry? Mr. Rogers? No, Mr. Somerset. I would like to do an impression of life. Well, it's getting kind of warm in here. That was too warm.
I like it.
And at Big Bry's house. And this was funny the way Bender did it, and he had the leather jacket. It's like,
no, I didn't see this.
yeah, it's a wonderful film. I had to bring it over sometime, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, Brian! Wanna go fishing? Gee, Dad, I don't know. Well, we can do it, but I have homework. That's okay, son. You can do it on the boat. Jeez, it's wonderful. Oh, dear, my wife, isn't our son swell? Yes, isn't life swell? And then one of the people the wrestler said, okay, what's life at your house like? Oh, that's real easy. dumb, stupid, worthless, ignoramus, lousy, stupid. No, you forgot. Stupid, disrespectful, and everything. Now go make me a chicken pot pie. Okay.
Okay.
And then he said, what about you, Dad? Flip you! What about you? No, what about you? Wang wang you! Bam! And then he said, oh, I don't. Then the rest of the guy said, I don't believe it. It's all part of his act. It's all part of his image. And he said, no. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a cigar burn. That's what you get. When you smoke, when you spill paint in the garage. Did I stutter? I don't want to be with you people. So it dealt with some real intense concepts. But it was funny at the same time, but almost anarchist. It's kind of almost like a punk movie.
Oh, I see.
And it even had some like new wave type songs with it because they were all listening to records, and it had a kind of punky atmosphere, even though it didn't really have any punk rock figures. I just loved it. And it got into the weeds about what kids are really facing. Mm-hmm. This was made around 1985 or 86 or so. But boy, it was a good movie. I don't even know how we started talking about the Breakfast Club. How did we start talking about the Breakfast Club?
Because you brought it up.
But I can't. What was the conversation before that?
We were talking about Fonzie and.
Oh yeah,
and,
that's right, and that led up to. Well, the only time I'm gonna like for that like that is the Breakfast Club, but that was a little more serious.
You know, a half hour has already gone by.
Oh yeah, and comedy drama.
Yeah.
That was a comedy drama. We're talking about MASH.
Yeah.
And the only comedy drama I liked was the Breakfast Club.
Well, MASH is the series. It's something I can live with or without.
Yeah, same
if
here.
I just tune in on a rainy day or something, and I'll watch it. And I think Alan Alda was a fine actor. He was a very good actor.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, that show lasted 11 seasons.
It's amazing that it had that kind of an audience.
It did. I think it was the time period when it came out too, and the topics covering the Korean War, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was the Korean War.
And and you know what was good about that series? I don't know if you know this. When MASH ended, what caught my attention, they had another series after that called After MASH.
Yep.
I liked it. I personally liked it. It was centered around Klinger's character, the guy that wanted to get out of the army.
Yeah.
And remember I told you he was loyal to Colonel Potter?
Yes.
Well, Colonel Potter was married to Mildred, was her name. So it dealt with their lives after the Korean War.
Huh.
And it was centered around Colonel Potter and Klinger's character and the priest, I believe, or Father McCahey.
Yeah.
Now, in this aftermath, the priest was starting to lose his hearing, so he didn't think he was going to be of service to God anymore. I found that interesting. Yeah. And Colonel Potter was home. Yeah. They were back in the States. And of course, Klinger's character was disrespected by the hospital staff because he got a job in a hospital, and they didn't respect him because it was like all the service he put in during the Korean War made him capable of working in the hospital, but they just brushed him off. You know how they brush off, what do you call it, veterans?
Oh yeah.
So that's what Klinger's life was like, and he was married. He was married to an Asian lady, and so it's centered around their lives, but it didn't last very long.
Yeah. Was it a series or a movie?
No, it was a series.
Because I remember a movie called
After MASH.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I really liked it, but
there was a movie about MASH that they made in the 80s where Klinger ended up in a mental hospital because of seeing the traumas of war and that kind of thing.
Now that I don't know anything about.
It wasn't that good. It was in the same vein as MASH. I didn't really laugh at all. It bored me. My parents, mother, and stepfather were watching, and I watched a little bit of it. It bored me, so I went to my room. Bored me.
Well, this was more serious after MASH,
Yeah. I didn't even like the theme song. For a comedy, it bored me. It's like it just was flat, Just a dull theme to a dull comedy. Mostly with comedies, they have kind of a goofy kind of intro, like Alf was kind of goofy as a sitcom and that kind of thing, but what you're playing out just doesn't fit for a comedy, For
I
comedy.
think it depends. You got to look at the context too, because they're, the Korean War and so on.
Yeah.
So I like that theme song.
Yeah, it bored me. But
But to sum this up about MASH, I'm even surprised it got on television because the movie was so offensive.
Yeah, definitely.
But in the 70s,
Yeah.
they were seeing how far they could stretch the envelope, as they were saying.
Oh, yeah, they were.
Stuff like that in the 70s. So.
Which made the 70s interesting, I think. There wasn't
Well,
any
yeah,
political
that time
correctness.
period, they were just seeing what they could get away with in
Mhm.
the 70s and stuff like that. So.
Mhm.
Well, you mind if I have some more of that secret ingredient?
Mm-hmm.
I'll pour it this time.
Thank you.
So we're just chilling, eating, and
Yeah,
rambling on.
Uh-huh.
Not anything
that's what I like about the
significant.
show.
Yeah, nothing significant except for we're on the set of the Rifleman. They didn't even have Pepsi back in those
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
There was no secret ingredient.
Yeah. No, there
on the
wasn't.
Rifleman.
Yeah.
Hilarious. In that time period.
Mm-hmm. Just water and milk and whiskey, you know.
That's probably it.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck Connors was a fine actor. You know, let's talk about some of his movies. He did a movie called Flipper.
I saw that movie.
Do you remember with the dolphin?
Yeah.
Well, before they had the television series, they had the movie called Flipper.
Uh-huh.
And Chuck Connors was the actor that
Mhm.
played the father. And
Mhm.
Flipper went something like this.
Mhm.
See if I can remember it. Hold on.
That was a nice movie. Oh, yeah.
You remember the song?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the greatest movie, but it was okay.
Something like that. You know, Flipper in real life lived for 40 years.
I didn't know it was based on a true story.
No, I mean the dolphin that was
Yes.
in the television
Mhm.
series Flipper.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the world news when we lost Flipper,
Oh.
for real. That dolphin lived for 40 years.
Whoa.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
But since they were doing a television series and movie, they probably gave the dolphin
Mm.
the best of care.
Oh, yeah.
But it was sad, when we lost Flipper.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I used to watch Flipper as a little boy.
Was there a series about that or not?
Yeah, there was
I did not know that.
There was a television series. Now, Chuck Connors was not in the television
Yeah,
series.
I saw the movie, but yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, there was a television series called Flipper. And it went something like this. You don't know it, huh?
Oh, I know it actually, but not from the TV series, no.
Something like that. But yeah, there was a series called Flipper.
Mhm.
And Flipper's been called the aquatic lassie. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, it doesn't.
You remember
sound right.
Lassie? Do you ever
Oh,
watch
yeah.
Lassie?
Never did.
And Lassie dealt with, well, Lassie was a collie,
Oh, yeah.
They had like a lot of Lassie movies and TV series.
I
and
remember
things.
that, yeah.
So what Lassie was to land, Flipper was to the
Oh,
sea.
yeah.
So they were always comparing Flipper and Lassie. And they would always save the day. Flipper would save the day, but he'd do it from the water.
Yeah.
Whereas Lassie would do it from the land. So,
Mhm.
but that's the way that time period was. They had some animal shows. Gentle Ben. Do you remember Gentle Ben?
I've heard of it, never saw it.
Gentle Ben was what Lassie was, but he was this bear. He was like this pet bear.
Yeah.
Like this big grizzly.
Yeah.
But he would always defend, the
Mhm.
bear would always defend the family.
Mhm.
I mean, that bear could kick some tail.
Yeah.
Only in the movies, But, yeah, it was called Gentle Ben
Mhm.
until you tick the bear off.
Oh, yeah.
So, and trivia, Ron Howard's brother, Clint, was the star
Mm-hmm.
of that. You know how Ron Howard was on Andy Griffith?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Clint Howard was on Gentle Ben. He was the lead
Huh,
character.
did not know that.
Yeah, the Gentle Ben. Just some little trivia there.
The closest to any like animal movies or TV shows I ever liked was a sweet series. I don't have enough money for it to get on from Amazon and anything. I would have liked the whole series, but
Mhm.
it was a live action show. I might have talked about this once. Basically in 1982 or 83, maybe 83, called Benji, Zax, and the Alien Prince.
Was Benji a dog?
Yes.
I know of the character Benji.
Well, it was about this alien prince, a young 9, 10-year-old, 11-year-old child who was an alien. Somehow he crash landed on Earth or did something. But these evil aliens were always after him, and he lived in a park, sunny park, and he had this droid, kind of robot named Zax, who could help him protect him, and Benji as well. He befriended Benji. It was just a nice thing about him living in the park and having various adventures and seeing various things, and it was just really nice, It was a sweet. It even had the nicest, sweetest music. I even recorded one on my audio tape. There was a beautiful scene that gives me goosebumps thinking about it to this day, practically, where Benji was running across the green grass in summertime, and there was a guitar, piano playing. Da da dun 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 da dun 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 da da dun. Dun 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 dun. Beautiful. I can't do it. It was so beautiful. Oh, I'm almost getting goosebumps. Just very sweet. I just like stuff like that. That's sweet and innocent and beautiful. And he got into some interesting dangers and that kind of thing. It just was. People wanted to exploit him because he was all alone, being raised by himself and that kind of thing. I think even at one time at the end, Child Protective Services had to step in because he was living in that park alone with his droid and that kind of thing. Benji, it was just interesting, but he was an alien being pursued by these other aliens. I can't remember their names. It was really nice,
Yeah. The sandwich is quite good.
Yeah.
Had bacon in it.
Oh yeah, it did.
Okay, let's see if I can make this shot.
Nope.
Nope. I better not quit my day job. You like basketball?
Nope, bores me. I played it, had to play it in PE. I didn't like it, it bored me.
Well, basketball works for some people.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like an old prude. I was not really a fan of basketball. I know it works for a lot of people. And I wasn't really into football either.
Yeah.
That's the most common sports is football, basketball, and baseball.
Oh yeah.
I could live without all three of those.
Same here.
I would prefer to watch figure skating.
Yeah, it bores me too.
Or the Olympics.
Yeah, bores me too.
Or gymnastics.
Bores me too.
So I did gymnastics when I was in high school. So
Yeah. As a matter of fact, in my special ed class in the Rose Elementary or some sort of thing like that, basically it was around 1980 or so. They were having the Olympics, and the teacher said, "You can get out of math problems. We don't know if we just want to watch the Olympics." You know how we all voted? We all voted to do math problems. We all did, and she said, "I can't believe you'd rather do math problems than watch the Olympics." All of us unanimously said, "We don't want to watch the Olympics. Please just give us math problems or something. The Olympics is boring."
Let's see if I can figure that theme song.
Yeah. The closest I've ever come to sports. Well, I like football for some reason. Maybe it was almost like self-betting on the various
like
teams
that.
who would win for a brief stint when I was 9 and 10 years old. But I invented a game. This was over Thanksgiving when I was with some friends. It's called Washing Machine Ball.
Never heard of it.
I made it up. You have a football, and you have different washing machines, and the way you play it, you roll the football on the ground to the washing machines, and then everybody cheers, and yay, and then you pick up the football and start talking to the washing machine, and you with the football tucked under your arm. "Hi, washing machine, how are you? What's that? Oh, I know. Algebraic equations make me want to stick out my tongue. What's that? Oh, I know." Whoever does this the longest wins that round without being bored of talking to the washing
Do you
machine.
remember that the Maytag repairman that repaired washing
Yes, I
machines? His name was Jesse White
yeah.
in real life. He was a famous character actor from the past, but when he was older, he played the Maytag repairman.
Oh, yeah.
I guess you would like those commercials.
Oh, I
huh?
did.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
I preferred other washing machines commercials that were fascinating. I liked this one. I just loved this one. It's fascinating. It was in the 1990s, something like, "Does your washing machine like to dance?" I wonder if they copied it from me and the washing machine spin around dancing with each other. Well, here are low prices, and that's it. Without the song and dance. I thought, "Oh, does your washing machine like to dance?"
Only on Asaph Cafe, huh?
Yeah, yep. Then another one, there were a bunch of people saying, washer, 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 dryer, 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 washer, washer. And they advertised the price of these, you know, washer and dryer pairs, and they said, the host of the commercial said, please get these deals now because before you can say spin cycle, they'll be over. I thought it was fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah, I love commercials about washers and dryers. I even from like the Sunday newspaper have cut out pictures of washing machines and dryers that they're advertising and put them up on my wall, my bedroom wall.
Okay. If you notice, I've been playing this. This is called the Fantasy Impromptu. It's in slow motion right now because I'm learning it.
Yeah.
So it's a good song to work on while I'm talking to
Yeah.
you. Now, about a year or two from now, hopefully I'll be able to do it at normal speed.
Yeah.
It goes lightning fast. It goes something like this.
If I ever come over again, would you like me to bring over The Breakfast Club? It's such an interesting movie, you know.
I'm open to it.
Cool.
Imagine doing those trippers that quickly.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
See, at the speed I'm doing it now, see, like something like this, see? Now, if you listen to it, let me do the rhythm pattern here. With my left hand, you're going to hear 3 taps. And with my right hand, you're going to hear 4. I'll do it very slow. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
See? My right hand is doing 4, and my left hand is 3. Can you hear it?
Yep.
Now imagine doing that about 3 to 4 times that speed.
Yeah.
That's how that, and that's what makes that song beautiful, because the triplets, like this part, 1, 2, 3,
Yep.
it goes something like this. At the speed, see? Isn't that pretty? So you got those 4 beats against 3.
Yep.
Now I can't do it right now, obviously, because I'm just still memorizing and working on it. But it's a beautiful. And then middle part it goes something like this. You know, really fast. And of course, I'm unable to do it right now at this time.
Yep.
But about a year or 2 from now, I hope to be able to do that whole composition at that speed.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, if I do one hand at a time, I can sort of do it. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
It's very beautiful. I decided I wanted to try to learn that song, and I was going to give myself 2 years to see if I can actually do it. I had to go through the process of memorizing it, which I'm still memorizing it. So that's the hardest part. That's like 10 pages long, that song.
Do you think you'll play it at the mall or with this
Not
year?
this year.
Okay.
No, I'm going to need at least 2 years to be able to do it. It's like 10 pages long. It took me like a month or 2 just to memorize how the song goes. Not playing it, just listening to it and hearing it and being able to follow along with the notes.
Yeah, can you read sheet music?
Yeah.
Good. Have you ever asked it's not really a personal question, I don't know, but have you ever been a piano teacher?
I'm picky about that, and I'll tell you why. Because I did student teaching too, you know, before I went to the conservatory. But to answer your question, I'm very picky about.
Unless it's too personal.
No, it's not personal. The reason being is because that's too much work that you have to prepare to give a lesson to somebody who's never going to really use it.
Good point.
Think about it. You know, like you get these kids that take piano lessons, and they don't really want to play the piano because it's like their parents are just kind of pushing it off on them, and you got to teach and teach and teach, and they just like a year later they're going to forget it anyway. So I'd rather teach someone who knows how to play and just, you know, get some pointers to them, and I can learn from them. And stuff.
I tried to take piano lessons, but I couldn't read sheet music, so
no, it takes time. It's just like when you were learning how to read a regular book. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes years.
Yeah, I know. I took many times.
And it's the same with piano lessons. You know, you're not gonna be playing tunes in the first 2 or 3 years. You got to get those foundations, those basics, and you've got to take your time.
Yeah. I remember the last time I took piano lessons, it was in Clarkston, Washington. My mother had me do piano lessons, and I would practice for 15 minutes a day. That's what was required. I hated it because I could barely read sheet music, but I hated this selection. I wanted to play classical music.
That really takes a lot of practice.
I really wanted to play classical music, something beautiful. She had me play, and even my mother said maybe she thought it was hip and cool, but I didn't think. I couldn't stand playing, Oh Susanna, or Froggy went a corn, and so it was embarrassing for me because I wanted to play classical piano.
All right, let's talk about classical piano for a second. We're talking strictly classical.
Yeah.
You know why people don't like to do classical music?
Or even teach classical music?
Because with classical music, you have to literally memorize what finger you're going to use for each note in classical music, because it was different back in those days than the way they do playing the piano and music now. That's one of the biggest reasons why. So like, let's say you're going to play the Minute Waltz.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard it. I'm going to do it in slow motion. You remember this song? Now, if you're going to play this song, I'm going to show you if you do it slowly. Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that pretty?
Mm-hmm.
Even at that speed, see how beautiful that is? Now, where I'm going with that is, I go to these colleges and practice rooms, and I hear these students working on these classical pieces, and what they're doing is they're learning how to play it fast, and they're stumbling.
Oh yeah.
Trying to learn how to play it at normal speed, and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to do it slow, like what I just demonstrated, and you just do it over and over and over. And if you did that at that speed, say for 3 months, you're gonna know that like the back of your hand. You're gonna know every finger, you're gonna be able to see everything in your mind's eye. That's how you do classical music.
Interesting.
If I were to teach you how to say Peter Piper picked a peck of peppers, pick up peppers, Peter Piper picked it, Peter Piper picked a peck of peppers, where's a peck of peppers, Peter Piper picked? If I were to teach you that at that speed, you'd never learn it.
Exactly.
But if I said Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, just that first part.
Yes.
Eventually you'll learn it. That's the same, I know that sounds corny, but that's the same principle with classical music. And it just amazes me when I see these college students up there playing Chopin and all at normal speed, learning it, and you'll never learn it. And even if you do master it, you're going to forget very quickly because you're not really learning it. You're going by what's called touch memory.
Yeah.
And you can forget that very quick. But if you do that very slow, indefinitely, even if you get like Liberace, you practice slow for the rest of your life, because you have to give your brain time to process your fingers. And well, like I said, with classical music, you got to memorize the fingers. So take your time. Flight of the Bumblebee, slow motion. I'll show you what that will sound something like this. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
And you can just start over, see?
Yep.
That's beautiful, see? And it still has a bumblebee effect at that speed. See like that? And just do it again. You do that for about an hour, at that speed. And another thing too about practicing slow, you won't tire yourself out.
Yeah.
And you can just take a break, come back, and do it again. If you do this long enough at this speed, you're gonna know that song in your sleep. See? So this is just a little bit, and I don't even have to look at the keys after a while. See, I can look right at you and still play. So my point is, when you practice, slow motion practice, very slow, very, very slow. But college kids, I hear it all the time. They're practicing at normal speed, trying to learn a piece, and then they wonder why they can't get it. Just like that Peter Piper example. Just I know that sounds silly. But slow motion practice. That's how you do it. And let's do some Chopin. I'll do it in slow motion. Like suppose I was going to do the Nocturne. You'll recognize it. You've heard this song.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful at that speed, see? Even at that speed, it's
Uh-huh.
beautiful.
Oh
see?
yeah.
See?
Mm.
So that you get time to learn it, see?
Mm-hmm.
And you just do it over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those pieces, you know.
Yep.
Beautiful,
Mhm.
see? This is called the waltz in B minor.
Uh-huh.
And just do bits and pieces of it at a time and just memorize your fingers and so on. But that's why people don't like to work on classical music.
Interesting.
It's very detailed, very complex.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it takes a lot of time. Even the fair release, that's in slow motion. Listen to this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that beautiful
Mhm.
at that speed?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're practicing, who you're trying to impress?
Mhm.
Nobody. So
Yeah.
You're just practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just do it over if you want. Because when you get to that middle part, it goes something like this. Now I'm gonna do it normal speed.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's pretty tricky. But if you slow it down,
Mm-hmm.
see how pretty that is?
Yeah, it is.
So you can, take your time. Stuff like that.
Mhm.
But that's why people don't like to work on classical
Oh.
pieces. Because you have to do it very slow. Very, very slow. Van Cliburn, I don't know if you ever heard of him. Famous concert pianist of the past. See,
Mhm.
in 1958, they had what was called the very first international piano competition,
Mm-hmm.
where they had piano players from around the world go to
Mm-hmm.
Russia at the time. And they had this competition similar to the Olympics. And they give you 4 years to prepare for this, for real, just like the
Mhm.
Olympics. And what Van Cliburn did when he was 22 years old, he practiced for 8 hours a day in
Wow.
slow motion for 4 years, every day. Can you imagine that? So that by the time they had this competition, it was like second nature.
Mhm.
He could just go like this and he didn't have to think about it. And he wound up winning the gold medal. He
Wow.
won the gold medal. That was during the Cold War, when Russia was saying nobody can outplay our piano players.
Yeah. I didn't even know they had a competition on piano that you could win medals.
Yeah, it was called the Tchaikovsky First International Piano Competition back in
Interesting.
1958. And Van Cliburn won the gold medal for
Mhm.
that. And then they eventually called it the Van Cliburn Piano Competition.
Interesting.
But see where I'm going with this is
Mhm.
he used those principles.
Yeah.
Slow. If you practice for 8 hours every day in sections,
Yes.
at that speed, very slow,
Mm-hmm.
you won't even have to think about it. You'll be able to literally just,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what he did, and he won the gold medal. He smoked all those Russian pianists at the time.
Amazing.
And I don't think he went there with the intent, I'm going to beat
Yeah.
these guys. He just knew how to practice.
Yeah.
Slow motion practice. So if you're practicing 8 hours a day in slow
Oh, yeah.
motion for 4 years, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
you're going to know every nook and cranny of that song.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to
Yeah.
see it in your mind's eye.
Mhm.
And that's what he did.
Mhm.
So, slow motion practice, that's the way to go. And you got any final words? We are literally out of time.
Let's see. There were these two washing machines, and they saw a hat in their way. One said to the other, "Is that in your way?" The other said, "No, it's in your way, and it's blocking my view."
Well, this is our 16th season in the cafe, and let's give God some glory for a moment.
Yes.
I am so
Absolutely.
thankful to God for what He's done, not only in your life, but my life. I'll start and you can end it. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the 4 years with the cafe and for Emmett and just this show. It's been a blessing and delight of my life, and I want to take an opportunity to give God thanks and glory. Go ahead. Emmett.
Amen.
Okay, so this is just such a fun
It
show,
is.
you know, and it's fun silly.
It is.
So, but to conclude this, we're in North Fork in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's a cool picture of
Yeah,
Chuck
it is.
Connors. If he were alive, I wonder what he would think of this. You know?
Yeah.
We squeezed ourselves on his show, you know.
I didn't even know he was dead.
Oh, he passed away a long time ago.
Interesting.
Well, you know, when they have new
Oh, yeah.
TV and you watch the reruns of the Rifleman, you think he's alive. Oh my goodness, he's been gone for what, 20, 30 years? maybe?
Interesting.
Yeah, he's been gone a long time. Chuck
Yep.
Connors.
Wonder if he was a Christian or not, or what, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of people in Hollywood that are Christians, but you just
Interesting.
don't know it. You would really be surprised. Alice Cooper
Oh, yeah.
is a born-again Christian,
Mhm.
singing that "Welcome to My
Oh,
Nightmare."
yeah.
You wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
No, I have heard him in interviews talk about his faith in Christ.
Interesting.
John Ritter, the
Mm.
actor on Three's Company.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, he was a
Good.
devout born-again Christian too. So my point is, you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of Christians in Hollywood. It's just they're professional people and they have to play these characters
Yeah.
and so on. And of course, you and I are Christians, so, you know.
Yep.
So maybe Chuck Connors was a Christian too.
Who knows? Yeah, interesting.
We'll never really know, but he did leave the world a wonderful character with Lucas McCain, wouldn't you say? And
Mhm.
it was just a wholesome, clean-cut Western show.
Interesting.
I think it's the only Western that was so clean-cut.
Interesting.
He always made his boy get a haircut.
Yeah.
And not disrespect his teachers, not,
Mhm.
you know, back talk adults and things like that.
Interesting.
And how to treat a lady, and
Mhm.
just all the stuff that I think is forgotten in our culture today.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though Chuck Connors is gone, he left a fun character.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's sign out of here. I am Asaph and I were on the set of The Rifleman with Chuck Connors in North Fork in the 1800s, and affectionately on my left, our aging rocker, Emmett.
Mhm.
And I hope, did you get enough to eat?
Oh, yeah, thanks, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna shut everything down. I'm
All right.
gonna probably have some more lemonade.
Wonderful.
I haven't had this country time lemonade in quite a while. It's pretty
Same
good.
here, it is. It's
I don't
wonderful.
drink it very often, but it's really good.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so, all right. So,
All right.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I am Asaph Cafe, and this is Emmett. And until our next show, Maranatha.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't move. Just make yourself at home, and I'll shut everything down.
Yeah.